Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be trying the game Colouring Roulette for the very first time. Thank you so much to everybody who commented on the video for it and said that it was a really good idea and that you were going to have a go. I haven't seen anybody's yet, but it's only been a few days, so I don't expect it to be instant. But I'm so excited to see if all of you decide to do it and how it turns out. I'm really stoked for that. So I'm going to have a go at it today. And I've got all of my cards here. As you can see, I've just clipped them together just to try and keep them together, but I can't think of any other way to do it yet. So let's just get straight into it then. So we'll start off by choosing a prompt. So I'm going to shuffle these like I said to do in the introduction. And if you haven't seen that video, I will put it up. I'll put a link down there for you to go and have a look what it's all about. And basically it's just generating prompts and colours for the way that you're going to colour your colouring pages. So it's a randomised thing, and it takes all the decisions out of your hands really. So we'll pop those cards down. We'll do the same, we'll shuffle them all at the same time. So these are the mediums cards, things like alcohol markers, pastels, stuff like that. What you're going to use to colour, which supplies. So give them a quick shuffle. Doesn't really matter how much I shuffle it because I'm going to take a card from the middle of the pile anyway. And then we've got the colours. So this is probably the thickest pile, all of the different colours. Now I did say on the original video that we're going to choose 5 or up to 5. But you can choose as many as you want. It doesn't really matter. Go with what you're comfortable with. I'm going to go with 5 because that's what I put on the original instruction. So there we go. We also have the wild cards, and I don't know whether to use the wild cards on this first video or do those on a later video, you know, once I've done the main part of the game. I don't want to chuck a wild card in that then makes all of these null and void, because then I can't show you what it would be like just to use these. So I think I might use these next time. Right, so let's take a prompt card from the middle of the pile. We've got cakes. Okay, so I've got to colour something that incorporates cakes. So there we go. Let's choose one from the middle of here. Alcohol markers. Okay, shouldn't be too difficult. And then we want 5 colours. Now this is going to be quite interesting because cakes, obviously, I mean, they can come in a certain amount of colours, I guess, in different colours if you use dye in the cake, but it'd be nice to have like a brown or a tan colour or something like that. So I'm just picking 5 random cards from the middle of the pile and we'll see what colours we've got for cakes. Moss green. Interesting. Maybe we can find a cake with some foliage on it or something. Emerald green. Okay, so we've got possibly the least cakiest colour so far. Moss and emerald green. Then we've got coral. Again, difficult. Orange. I guess you could have like an orangey kind of sponge, maybe. And the final one is light yellow. Now, just looking at these, I think this is going to be challenging, but that's the whole point of the game. It's not going to turn out how you would colour it if you were going to choose your own colours. So let's see what happens. I'm going to try and find now a page or a colouring book picture that has cakes inside, and I'll come back to you with the one that I've chosen, and I'll get all of the colours ready as well with my alcohol markers. Okay, so I found a book with a picture of cakes in it. It is Midnight's Masquerading, I think it's called, by Hannah Carlson. In fact, I'll just show you the cover. A bit easier, wouldn't it, than me trying to show you. So it's this one, Midnight's Masquerading. And yes, it is a double-sided book, and we are using alcohol markers, which I usually wouldn't recommend, but I've had a look at the design on the back. I'm quite happy to sacrifice it, and yeah, I like this picture, so I thought it would go quite well with the prompt. I have chosen all of my colours. We are using predominantly Copic markers today, although I do have one Spectrum Noir graphic marker because my Copic of the same colour has run out, so that was annoying. But for the moss greens, I've chosen the DG3 from the Spectrum Noir, which would have been, if I just grab the old Copic, it would have been YG67 Moss. So we've got that one, and then we've got YG63 Pea Green and YG61 Pale Moss. So that's going to make up our moss green trio. I'm not saying that I'm going to use all 3 pens on, you know, every single blend that I do, because it is quite a tiny illustration with a lot of details. There's not probably going to be room for me to use all 3 in certain areas, but they're there for variation if needed. We've then got the emerald greens, which are G09, G05 and G03. And then the light yellows, Y06, Y04 and Y00. For the corals, we've got R14, R32 and R12. And finally for the oranges, we've gone with YR18, YR16 and Y35 for our orange blend. So we've got all of our colours ready. I've not got a good feeling about this because the colours are very strange for a cake, but I might surprise myself. So let's go. So I thought we'd start off fairly easy and colour the cherries with the coral colours that we've got, because that's obviously the closest that we can get to the colour of a cherry with our palette. And then this happened. No! So, bad omen for the start of the project, possibly. But I just decided to leave it, and then I can go over it with the white pen when it's dried a little bit, which I'm doing now. And it worked out pretty well, actually. It covers it quite well, even though the page is kind of an ivory, slightly creamy kind of page. But hey-ho, these things happen. So for these kind of frosting bits, I didn't know what to do. I knew that I didn't want the dribbly bits, these here, to be green because it would end up looking like snot. So I decided to use some of the emerald green on the frosting at the top. And just hope for the best, really. Obviously, they're not ideal colours that we've chosen here, but all we can do is colour it and see what comes out at the end. So I'm going to try and make this top tier of the cake a little bit spongy coloured. It's a bit too yellow, I suppose, but that's the colour we've got to play with. Adding a little bit of white pen, and to be honest, the white pen did save the day in some of this illustration. As you know, I love adding white pen dots and highlights and accents, and it really was needed later on. I decided to colour in the next round of frosting with the moss greens, and to be honest with you, it just looked like a big dollop of horrible kind of turd looking sort of snotty frosting, which wasn't great. So again, white pen to the rescue. I put dots and lines all over these bits of frosting, and eventually it did end up turning into something that looked a bit like Christmas trees with snow, obviously powdered sugar for the cake. And I think it did save it a bit, even though that's obviously not the best colour for cake frosting. But hey ho, colouring the drips again with orange this time. So I used coral for the top tier and then the oranges for these drips. And for the cake itself, again, I wasn't sure what to do, but I needed something to contrast. I didn't want to do the yellow again, so decided to use the coral. Not sure what kind of cake this is. Maybe it's got a coral covered icing over it, or maybe it's some formation of a red velvet. I don't know, but it worked. It worked quite well. Using the emerald greens to do these kind of gemstones at the bottom, and did try to make them look like gemstones as well with the white pen. Decided to go over all the sprinkles again with the white. I don't know whether this is classified as cheating using the white pen, but oh well. Yeah, so did a couple of sprinkles in various red and green, and then obviously doing all my white gel pen bits. I think this does help to disguise the colours a little bit and make it look a bit shinier and a bit more like glossy frosting than just some random orange stuff that you've just poured over the top. So again, just using the moss green for the majority of the cake stand. I did want to use this moss green, but obviously for the cake, it's not a great colour. So I thought the cake stand can be mainly this moss green colour, just to make sure it's incorporated. And it worked okay. It looks quite vintage. It looks quite 60s. The moss green and the yellow together. Not ideal, as I said, but oh well. And then I decided to mix and match the red of the coral with the orange and the yellow. So 3 different families on those gemstones that were kind of hanging down from the pearls, and I think that worked quite well. We got a nice sort of mango-ish type blend out of that, which was quite nice to have something different to work with. Again, just swapping and changing the colours, trying to see how they blend together, and I've done that same blend on the lollipop here. So worked out all right. I did notice that the yellow that we were using did have a bit of a green tinge to it, which it shouldn't really, because it's not a yellow green, but I guess all the other colours kind of dictate how your eyes see other colours on the page. So here's the finished page. What do you think? I'd love to know in the comments what you reckon to the finished article. Obviously, the colours weren't fabulous for this subject matter, but I actually quite like it. I would never have put these colours together, especially on a cake. And it's good to see how it turns out when you're given colours without being able to choose them, and what you do with them and how you decide to use them on the page. So yeah, I've really enjoyed doing it, and I hope that when you do it, you enjoy it as well, and you get something that's really out of this world and you think, what? And then you get to the end and hopefully you're quite pleased with the outcome. And if not, you know, it's all an experience, isn't it? So thank you so much for watching, and again, just tag me if you decide to do the colouring roulette challenge, and I'll see you on the next one.